everyone. I'm Salvador. I'm the founder of Global RevGen, and I've got Feng Liang here, who owns ADX Accountants. And I asked Feng to join us because she's got a lot of experience, both in Australia and in China, in cross-border transactions, but also in relocations and emigrations, and has a very unique perspective on what's going on in China. And Feng, the first question I have for you is, a lot of people think that the economic impacts of COVID means that the parents of future students can no longer afford to send their kids overseas. So specifically about China, do you have any view on this?
Yes. I think the main issue is you've got to understand the difference in Chinese culture. For every family, educate their kids is the number one priority for many years, from the time the kids go to kindergarten to all the way to university to higher education. There's nothing more important for the Chinese family than this child or grandchild, the journey to see how they can support the person develop and be educated and go to have a good future. So it's more important than the house they're living, in the car they're driving. For the Chinese family, it's not a discretionary spending to spend money to help the kids, educate kids. It's actually the number one essential item.
Wow.
For that, to fund that, the family would do anything, sacrifice themselves, not only just parents, also grandparents, because it's a very close family structure. A lot of the grandkids, it's funded by grandparents, and so I think that's the main thing that people got to understand. It's different from here. Here, our young people grow up, they go on, get educated. They, the government have HECS loan, everything. There is nothing similar like that in China. So it's essentially, I think that's the main thing people got to understand. It's number one issue for the family, and they would fund it, doesn't matter what. And they will be very happy, proudly to fund it.
And they view an international education, of course,
yes.
As what?
Yes, I think there is another really significant change people got to understand is back 20, 30 years, when the baby boom, like my age, was in China. Yes, the school teach English, the university, have some English courses, but many of our children who is now in the late 20, early 30, up to 40, they can't speak English, because back then the education system was very rigid. There's no private enterprises get into the education space. It's all public funded schools and high schools and the university, very rigid. But for these people now, they start to have children. For the people late 20 to early 40, they themselves may have had an education, a higher education professionals, but they never had a chance to speak fluent English and to really use the bilingual sort of ability to do business and carry on their life. But for these people, for their children, they cannot simply accept their children grow up like them, not have the English language skill set. It is, yes, that's the case. So that's why if you look in the Chinese, if you go to visit China, every 20 meters you will see English college. Is privately owned. So these colleges, they provide kids from 3-4 years of age all the way to high school, and they usually prefer to be taught by foreign teachers and taught by the material, teaching material from America, from UK, from overseas, where it's very similar to our children's material, teaching material. So they want to create this environment for children to develop a very natural ability to use English.
Which means presumably that they've already made the decision that this child
Absolutely.
is going to study in an
English-speaking
country.
Yes, I think in China, if a child is not going to uni, it's not because the family don't have resources. It's more the child do not want to do it themselves. So and the two very different from Australia. So you can see that the part of the reason why family create a good environment for kids to grow up, speak English very naturally, is because they actually think forward and they pave the way for children to actually, in the end, go overseas, have the overseas education.
So what's going to happen when the borders open and international students are allowed back in? Is it going to be a massive resurgence, or is it going to be more moderated?
Yeah, look, for a child, you know, the education is many years. It's about nearly, you know, 15 years, 20 years from the kindergarten to university. So all the family is really planning for long term. So if they have already got the plan to send the children overseas, this immediate challenge of border closed because COVID-19 is not going to change their plan. So as soon as the border open, I think the family would try to get the children out, get their plan back on the track. So in the short term, it could be a really a very big demand because you know, life has changed. The Chinese family, they used to send the kids overseas. They used to go overseas travel, a bit like Australian. You know, we like go overseas travel. Imagine if the border open, wouldn't we want to go? So it's the same. So they feel so much locked down now. They feel their plan is delayed, but certainly they're not going to say, oh, because of that, we'll you know, abandon that plan.
Plus, from a global context, Australia is probably one of the safest places to be.
Yes, that's true. And I think, you know, for Chinese family, the most popular destination is, of course, US and UK, Canada, Australia, these countries. Now, for US and UK, usually, you know, it's the really well-known university draw these top students. But for Australia and Canada, definitely, you know, it's a very attractive destination. And safety is increasingly become a factor for the planning and the decision. Go back to a number of years when the UK bombings and the terrorist attack, everything, a lot of family would look at Australia, look at somewhere safer. So I think with the current COVID situation, Australia has done a much better job managing it than UK and US. So I think it will be very attractive from the family's point of view, that to have the kids in a safe environment and close enough to travel. So doesn't matter what other political factor or virus condition, everything. I think the families planning and determination around their children's education is not going to be impacted over longer term.
And just the last question, what do you think the view is of learning online in China?
That's a good question, I think I observed a lot of schools and the students and how quickly they got on to the online learning when they first got locked down in January last year and February, because that's after their Chinese New Year holiday going back, how quickly they got onto the online learning, much quicker than mostly we see around the schools and here. So the teaching was switched on with the technology and not much delay as far as the children's, you know, learning schedule concerned. So I think by also another big factor is it's very hard to get really foreign teachers into the classroom in China. You know, the competition to secure these foreign teachers are very, very strong, and the price offered, everything is being very attractive. There are, you know, a really big sort of like a workforce of foreign teachers there, and that has been impacted by COVID badly because people have returned to their original country during the crisis, and so it's very rare. So that reality forced the parents, forced every school has to come to term, accept much better, online teaching before the crisis, and that mostly will continue to some extent. Of course, they prefer to have the face-to-face teaching, but the reality is mostly online is being accepted a lot better now than before.
That's amazing. Well, it's been great talking with you. Thank you so much for taking
No
the time
problem.
to
Yes,
join us.
thank you.